and you're so focused on the sport you play, and you're so dialed in on the sport you play to know that Larry Bird doesn't even really recall the Bill Buckner,
remembers.
the most infamous play in Boston history. But he told me that when he was there, it was a Red Sox town, Celtics second.
I can relate. You know, me and Larry, both Indiana guys, both champions. I did not know that the Penguins won the Stanley Cup. Like, they were, but that's still kind of crazy.
Like, when you were there, did you know who Mario Lemieux was?
I knew who Mario Lemieux was, yeah. And I knew
Jaromir
the kid, Jaromir Jagr. He used to get like a speeding ticket every other week. So
Really?
Yeah. Pittsburgh police are the best.
City where all three major professional sports teams have the same color scheme.
Oh, okay. I think I did know that, actually.
Isn't that right, Derek?
Yeah, I think that's right. Black and gold, right?
And, you know, for that matter, while we're on that topic, which is fun, Drew Brees, when he set the record last week against the Colts for most touchdown passes, same athletes that played the majority of their career in the pros with the same color scheme that they played in college.
I did not even
Drew Brees is one of few. Purdue.
Yeah, Saints, and he bounced around.
But there aren't many.
No.
So you're thinking about it now, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. Like, I thought that.
As fun as this is, we are going to have to talk about.
No, they're very engaged by our color conversation.
We're live on YouTube right now,
Oh,
too.
great.
So
Sweet.
if you didn't know previously
I have
how
acute
handsome
bronchitis.
we
You can see how many times I'm coughing.
were, you can see us, and you can also see how underdressed Jake is. We're going to come back with more on the Chapman
You're
Heating,
wearing a
Cooling,
flannel.
and Plumbing pregame
I was
show.
in Milwaukee last weekend. You're wearing the official.
I'm wearing a button-up.
You're wearing an official.
With two-time Super Bowl champ Trai Essex. Derek Schultz and Jake Query live from the Slippery Noodle until 1 o'clock for Colts and Panthers. You're listening to it on Q95. Eddie, can this get our audio during the breaks too? No, or it's getting the station audio. Trai Essex. I'm Derek Schultz. Zero-time champion Jake Query is here as
That's
well
right.
as we get you set for the Colts and Panthers. A 1 o'clock kick from Luke. I'm not sure if this is going to affect the Colts. I guess maybe if they get tackled and somebody coughs in their face, this might affect them. But there is a flu outbreak right now in the Carolina Panthers locker room. So apparently most of the Panthers are under the weather entering today's. Letting you know,
No, I get
most
it.
of the Panthers are sick.
Really?
So
That seems to have bode well this year. We heard about the Patriots being sick and they won. And then Seattle.
that's right. They did win that game.
Seattle had the flu, and then they won against San Francisco. So,
Did you ever have to play with the flu?
swimming pool or some kind of muscle injury than I would with the flu.
Just because you're just so
You're just so fatigued, and there's nothing you can do about
Yeah.
it. You can only do so many fluids, and then you feel all,
play like getting to the point where you were about to throw up on the sidelines, or
nah. I don't think I've ever been sick before and played in a game. So
wow.
I just have that great of an immune system, guys. It's just,
You've never,
I guess so.
You've never been sick in your life?
oh no, I've been sick before, but
Just
not
not
for a
during-
game.
But in his 10 years of playing, he'd
Yeah.
never be within the next 10 to 15 minutes or so. But we already know a couple of players out, including Kenny Moore, Jake, in the secondary, and also no Quincy Wilson. So the Colts going to be a little bit shorthanded in the defensive secondary.
Is Quincy Wilson a healthy scratch?
Well, but I don't know how much of it is just a pride thing with the Colts secondary after getting dunked on the way that they did by Drew Brees on Monday night. I've seen some great quarterback performances against the Colts. Big Ben had a 600-yard game against them. Do you remember that? A 29-30. Man, that's about as good as it gets.
29 to 30, 307, 4 touchdowns. And he did not have a perfect quarterback rating. I don't understand analytics.
But still, 29-30 is pretty amazing.
I mean,
so the Colts in their last 2 games in New Orleans have been outscored 96-7.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, for what it's worth, Derek, they also went down there one time and scored like 6 tutties. You sound ridiculous.
Which was then the NFL record, wasn't it? And then didn't Breeze throw 7?
I think that's right.
I think the record's 7 now, but I thought at the time Manning set the NFL record for touchdown throws.
I think
I might be wrong.
No, I just remember, that game back when Manning did it. Passer, as you're going to find, but he seems like a rhythm passer, Trey. And that's, you just knew going into a primetime game in New Orleans in that dome with Breeze and rhythm, you knew it was a challenge.
Why doesn't Breeze get every single number that you could ever want? Most passing yards, most touchdowns, and the most accurate passer of all time. And still, he's always seems. Or is it just me?
No, I think you're right. I think he's starting to get more of credit. Here in Indiana, we've always known that Drew Brees was amazing because of his tie with Purdue and all of that. But I think nationally now, people are starting to realize that this is one of the best guys to ever do it. I think the difference, Trey, is that how many years did Drew Brees where people have regarded him as the best quarterback and or the best player? Probably no times, right? I mean, he's always been viewed as one of the best. Manning and Brady, Manning's got 5 MVPs. Manning's a first-time All-Pro 7 times. Brady's got
Accolades and not Breeze. I think part
because
of it,
they were viewed that way, because they were the best at their position
Well,
and the best in their sport.
but I think what Trey's saying, speaking, Breeze had just as much to fall back on as did those guys. I think, let's take, for example, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers. If you were to ask why those 3 are in the public conscience more so than Drew Brees, Manning's case, Peyton Manning, the name, pedigree, and the reputation before he ever even took an NFL snap feeds into it.
Right.
In Tom Brady's case, imagery that people have in their mind of classic quintessential throwback, seeing a guy's breath, snow in the background, frozen tundra, green, playing indoor. And when you think of Breeze and the great Breeze moments, you think of them being at the Louisiana Superdome. And so, not that that's anything, that's not his fault, but I just think that in the mind factors into the perception of Aaron Rodgers, for example. Breeze was not overly heralded. I mean, obviously he was heralded coming out of Purdue, but not necessarily nationally heralded. Quarterback. Peyton Manning, 6'4", laser rocket arm, or 6'5", whatever you want to say he is. Aaron Rodgers, mobile, stopping, throwing across the body, extending plays. Drew Brees, pure pocket, believable quarterback who threw up massive numbers. The difference being Drew Brees obviously plays for a team that won the Super Bowl. But when people talk about quarterbacks of the 80s, they talk about Marino, Elway, Montana. Oh, yeah. And
You know, Karl Malone is second all-time in the NBA in points. Karl Malone is a fantastic player. He had an amazing career. I think we can appreciate Karl Malone without saying that he's Michael Jordan. He's not. And that's how I view Breeze.
He's, for God's sake, All-Pro.
Played in 4 Super Bowls. Breeze missed the playoffs 6 times in New Orleans.
Probably not,
Maybe
right?
Michael Thomas will end up being one.
Michael Thomas.
But what's the gold standard? Marcus Colston?
Joe Horn.
Right.
His best.
He would have caught Joe Horn a little bit, right? Some of those years? How many years would Joe Horn be
Brooks. Joe Horn, Aaron Brooks.
Maybe the very beginning, though, was what...
I agree with Trey in the fact that, yes, I realize that Manning was a 5-time most valuable player and 7-time All-Pro. But the question simply is, what was it that made Manning...
Not fair, but obviously team success. Drew Brees has missed the playoffs a couple of times and had less than stellar seasons with Sean Payton. When Manning never missed the playoffs. He won like 10 years in a row, 10 games plus or whatever. So that's not fair for the quarterback position, but that does play a role, unfortunately.
You know the guy that, and because I covered Manning's career, was basically like at every game he played. So when you're that close, you just kind of take it for granted. So taking Peyton Manning away from this conversation, because I'm talking about guys that have been out of the league for 5 to 10 years and beyond. The guy that, to me, when you talk about all-time great quarterbacks, like for a long time, it was no question Joe Montana.
Right.
And then Manning and Breeze eclipsed that passing mark, and now you still hear him mentioned. But the guy that has had the least fluctuation and the least dip, in the end, I think it's very possible John Elway might be the greatest quarterback ever to play. Because you want to talk about somebody that no Hall of Famers. I mean,
he didn't win until he got a Hall of Famer, though, right?
Understood, but I mean, he was Davis. Then he wins 2 of them, right? Is Davis truly a Hall of Fame running back?
I don't think so.
Exactly, but I mean, he was throwing to Mark Jackson. Elway, though, the things that he could do. Now, I've always wanted
Rod Smith, Ed McCaffrey.
Right.
It was a decent
It
offense.
was a good team.
Yeah.
The other thing about Elway, the one thing I would say that was truly his calling card when he was a player, and I've always wondered because, and you would know, Trey, I don't know if you played games in Denver, but I always wondered with the Broncos' remarkable fourth.
So I have 2 Colorado stories. I played in Denver, and I don't remember having a huge effect because whenever we played there,
You guys won an AFC Championship game there, didn't you?
Jake, the affects you if it's hot. So every other time we played the Broncos, it was usually later in the year and it was cool outside. So for whatever reason, it didn't affect. But my sophomore year at Northwestern, we played at Colorado Springs. It was by far the worst football experience I've ever had. I could not breathe. I was drained, and I think that's when it comes to effect. But
Did you guys win or lose?
no, we got murdered.
Did you prep for it, plan? I mean,
Before they say that you don't try to acclimate, you just go there and try to just get in, get done, and get out, as opposed to getting there for. You can't truly acclimate to that so the least amount of academy school already is just because they don't quit.
now Air Force plays almost entirely a ground game, right? I always found that weird.
Yeah, but all of them do. Army, Navy.
I know, but you think Air Force
they'd
would
air it
you
out?
think Air Force would
I
air it
got
out,
you.
right?
I got you. Here we go.
Seems odd.
Tough team to prepare for. We'll have the Colts injury report coming up here. Also, to be honest, it's the Chapman Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing pregame show, and it continues next on Q95.
What year is the playoff year? Is it next year or So we go to the little bridge there and take our pictures. And then we